And what did he do?
What did he say?
He said that he cut her head off.
Tonight, Harrell Johnson's wife describes the murder of the little girl Kansas City knew as Precious Doe and the cover-up that went on for years. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, the evidence is all in at the murder trial of 29-year-old Harrell Johnson.
The jury will begin deliberating tomorrow following an emotional day of testimony today.
ABC 9's Peggy Bright is live at the Jackson County Courthouse with tonight's top story. Peggy?
Well, Larry, Harrell Johnson confessed on videotape. Michelle Johnson testified against him today in court. Their stories differ in the detail, but both of them admit to their role in the killing of 3-year-old Erica better known in Kansas City as Precious Doe.
I just said, what the f*** you do?
That was Michelle Johnson's reaction to her then-boyfriend Harrell Johnson when he violently kicked little Erica in the head in the spring of 2001. The couple was staying at this Kansas City home back then, close to the park where Erica's headless body was found. We couldn't show Michelle's face today as she described her efforts to revive Erica.
I put her in the bathtub. She didn't get up. She didn't respond. She didn't wake up. So I took her out the bathroom and then I laid her on the floor.
In Michelle's testimony and Harrell's videotaped confession, they both admitted they didn't seek medical help for Erica because they had outstanding warrants. Harrell Johnson fought back tears watching his confession.
I was just go for PCP that day.
High on drugs, Harrell told investigators about cutting off Erica's head with hedge clippers and dumping her remains in the woods. He also said he knew about Kansas City's search for Erica's identity.
Responsible for her death. Is there anything else that you would like to add in your statement?
What he was saying right there, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it. And that is at the heart of the defense. They're saying that he did not premeditate this crime, which means he's not guilty of first-degree murder. But the prosecution says that the premeditation came in when they decided to let Erica go without medical help. We're live at the Jackson County Courthouse. Back to you, Larry.
Peggy, what were the main differences then in the Johnson stories?
Well, Michelle Johnson said she was not there when Harrell Johnson cut off her head before they dumped the body. He says she was there. The other thing was that Michelle says Erica died in about 10 hours. Harrell Johnson says it was over a couple of days.
Peggy Bright live. Thank you very much, Peggy. Michelle Johnson has already pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. The jury begins deliberations for Harrell Johnson after closing arguments tomorrow morning.
Okay, YouTube, I'm back with another video, and today's video is a little different. Today we'll be talking about Erica Green, also known as Precious Doe. Now, it is a trigger warning, so if you can handle certain things, I think that you should click off this video. If you can, welcome. Thank you for watching. Thank you for clicking on. And if you do happen to hop in the comments, please be mindful that her family could see this, and please do it with respect. Thank you. With that being said, so I deliver this message to you with respect in the right way. I want to open up with prayer. So, dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day, Lord Jesus. I thank you for giving me the resources to read and understand and study this case, Lord Jesus. I ask that you just let the words flow. You just give me the words to say that would make this case presentable and be able to give it to the viewers the way that they can understand it, and with respect and with love. In Jesus Christ's name I pray, amen. Okay, you guys, like I said, this video is on Erica Green, Precious Doe. So, Erica was born on May 15th, 1997. She was born to the parents of Michelle Johnson and Larry Green. Larry Green and Michelle Johnson both was incarcerated, and they also had 5 children together, with Erica being, excuse me, the youngest. Now, Michelle was in jail for a month when she became in labor, and she didn't have anybody that she could think of that could take baby girl Erica. So she calls Larry's grandmother and asks her, do she know somebody or somebody can come get the baby because she's in labor. So Larry's grandma proceeds to call Miss Brown, later to be identified as Betty Brown, her friend. And just think about it, Miss Brown was about to be 70 years old when she was called, but she had no hesitation whatsoever. She went straight to that jail, and immediately, hours after that baby girl was born, she was in Miss Brown's custody. Miss Brown says that within 24 hours she became the foster parent of ericagreen and took baby girl home. Miss Brown said that Erica was always smiling, always happy. She took her to church. They watched TV together. She had toys. She loved the Teletubbies. She loved Blue's Clues. She had a baby that she named Angelica. Like, Miss Brown was giving this child the best life she could. That she thought she was that she was able to give. So Erica was thriving. Erica was 3 years old. That's when, as long as Miss Brown had her, up until when she was 3. Now, let's go back to Michelle getting out of jail. So Michelle served 5 more months, a total of 6 months, so 5 more months after she had Erica. She called Miss Brown. Miss Brown came and picked her up from the jail, brought her home, dropped her off at a family member's house, and her and Miss Brown and Erica went back home. She later said that she would come and see her, but she wasn't trying to be like a mother to Erica. So Miss Brown said she didn't know that they were on drugs or any of that. She didn't know any of that. So, and then she said that she didn't want to come in and be involved in her life because of the lifestyle she was living, and their lifestyles would have clashed because she was going to church, she was doing drugs and getting arrested. So later to be found out that Michelle Johnson met her now boyfriend, well, now husband, was boyfriend, Harrell Johnson, while prostituting. So now they become boyfriend and girlfriend. So now on April 4th, Miss Brown said that Michelle came and asked her could she take. Miss Brown said that Michelle came and asked could she take Erica to a family reunion where all her cousins was going to be there, and she's going to meet people, she's going to have fun. And she was hesitant at first, but what could she do? Like, she's not the full foster, like, she's not the legal guardian. She hasn't adopted Erica. So she packed her bag. She said she made her breakfast, they ate breakfast, they watched TV, and they talked. She said, see you later, bye. And she said that would be the last time she seen Erica. Now, Erica was calling her granny. So what happens is that later Michelle testifies that since Harold had his daughter, she wanted to get her daughter. I guess they wanted to play house, so they both had their daughters. They went to Kansas City where they went to a family member's house. I think it was Harold's cousin's house, and that's where they were at. So she said that she put her, fast forward to now, we're in April 28th. She says that, I don't know if it's April 28th or a couple days before April 28th, because the stories are mixed up, because Michelle says one thing and Harold says one thing. So she says that around this time, it's nighttime, and Michelle says that Erica's in her room. She tells her to go to bed. It's time to go to bed. She sends her to bed. Michelle says she goes to take a bath. She comes back out, and Erica's back out the bed in her room again, and she says, why is she in here? And she said that Harold said she was being bad, And she said, no, I told her to go to bed. This is my daughter. That's your daughter. You take care of your daughter. I take care of my daughter. Next thing she knew, that she said he kicks, Harrell Johnson kicks little Erica in the back of her head and knocks her to the floor unconscious. She said he then repeatedly kicked her a couple more times, and she's yells like, what the blank is wrong with you? And she said at the time that they were on PCP, and he was also intoxicated. He also had alcohol in his system. So she said that she was unconscious, so she picked her up, tried to shake her, ran her to the bathroom, tried to put cold water on her to try to wake her up, but that nothing worked. But then this is where the trigger warning starts. So they make the decision, because they both have warrants, not to call the police. So you're only thinking about yourself. You do not care about this baby being hurt. Because later medical examiners testified that they could have took her to the hospital immediately, and they could have reversed and probably could have fixed her, and she could have been well and alive. But because they had warrants, they didn't call the cops. So now we're at this point where he says, now Harold says that it was 2 days of her being unconscious and in the house, where Michelle says it was 10 hours. Now, this is Michelle's testimony. She says that she took her into the bathroom, splashed cold water on her, tried to get her wake up. Her legs and her arms was limp, and her eyes was rolled in the back of her head. So she said she laid her on the floor, and she laid next to her in her bedroom, and she was laying. But the only change that happened was her eyes was no longer rolled in the back of her head. She said that she was singing her favorite song, Barney's song, to her, and she was praying to God, asking, don't let my baby die. Let her die. So when she stopped moving and wasn't moving anymore, they decided to come up with a plan. They came up with this plan together to put this lifeless baby girl's body in a stroller with hedge clippers and walk her to the park. So they acted like she was asleep in a stroller, and they walked her to the park at night. So Harold took the hedge clippers and decapitated baby girl's body, one part of her body, the top part of her body. And so they found one body part in one spot and one body part in another. So on April 28th, someone called the police department and said, hey, we have an elderly neighbor. He's missing. He likes to wander. He has Alzheimer's, and could y'all do a well check? So they were searching for him. Then in the middle of their searching, that he was already found. He was back. He was okay. But what police officers didn't know, that they will stumble on to a body of a 3-year-old baby girl that they named preciousdoe, but we know now is ericagreen. And then on May 1st, 2001, they found her head like 150 to 200 feet away from where the body was. Erica testifies that they put it in a church trash can, but they were afraid that the church would identify her, so they took her out and placed her somewhere else. So they said they found her head in a black trash bag with an ashtray. What kind of monsters would do something like this to a 3-year-old baby girl? Like, my thing is, if you can't take care of a baby, and if you can't give the baby the love, why take this baby away from where she was happy and thriving and living her life and just happy, to do this to her? You could have took her to the hospital, but no, because you had outstanding warrants, you cared about yourself. We already know you only care about yourself because you have 8 children and you don't have any of them with you. So now, Kansas City rallies together. I mean, they come together for this baby girl. They come together. They raise money. They put flyers out. Have you seen me flyers? They got a tip line. She was on Cold Case. She was on America's Most Wanted TV show, like on repeats, because they could not identify this baby girl. So they gave her a funeral and they named her Precious Doe. That was what was on her tombstone, Precious Doe. Now, in my brain, I'm thinking like, I know that they know that this is their child. I know that was a lot of no's, but y'all understand what I'm trying to say. Did they attend the funeral in the back, like somewhere far away, and watch it, or what? Like, I'm just thinking, like, that's just something that just crossed my mind. Like, when they had this baby girl funeral, was you there? So now, fast forward to, oh yeah, one more thing before I fast forward. So before, the lead detective on the case said that he's gonna, he set a plate at his dinner table every night until they identify and find out what happened to this baby girl. So fast forward to May 5th, 2005. 4 years and 4 days from the date that they found baby girl's head. They identified the body as being Erica Green. From there, they went straight to the mother and stepfather. And that's when they was asking her what happened. And she went in and she confessed and she tells all of this stuff. And then it comes out that her testimony about what happened to her wasn't all the way right, because the injuries didn't consist with what Harrell claimed to have happened to her. Her cause of death as closed head injury, which is usually caused by head hitting or object or vice versa. And then, like I told you, the neurologist testified that if Erica had gotten medical attention right away, she probably would have survived. So now, Harrell gets first-degree murder, life in prison. Michelle gets second-degree murder for testifying against her husband and taking a guilty plea, and she only gets 25 years. I think that she should have life too, because you planned to discard your daughter's body. You laid on the floor with her because you didn't want to go back to jail, right? So now family members are wondering, because now she's back. And Miss Brown is like, well, where's Erica? Because Miss Brown said that it was Easter and she hung her Easter dress up, ready for her to come back home to go to church with her on Easter like they normally do. She's like, oh, she's with her other grandmom, and that's what she was telling her. She didn't think of anything happening to this baby girl. She said she didn't think that anybody would hurt her like this. And then when her family members would ask, she would just be like, oh, she's back with Miss Brown. So they didn't think nothing of it, because that is the woman who has been taking care of Erica this whole time. So they didn't think nothing of it. So they just accepted it. But come to find out, they did all of this stuff to her. So how they found out? So they had a tip line, right? And Harold's grandfather is the one who turned them in. Thurman. So he is the one. He kept asking questions because he overheard them talking about Erica's body. At the time, Precious Doe. He heard them talking about him. He called the tip line a year before they identified the body, but I guess that the tips that they was getting so many tips here and there, sightings in New York, sightings here, this and that. So, but I guess he didn't have enough of information to give them for them to say, okay, this is her, we got her, thank you, blah blah blah. No. So what happens is Eric gets locked up for his, not Eric, Harold gets locked up for his warrants, right? So he's in jail, and he's writing his grandfather, and he says, in one of his letters, he tells his grandfather that Michelle has so much on him, that has something on him that'll put him in prison for life. So he was trying to hound him and ask him questions, and ask him, and he said when he came home, he kept drilling him because he said he couldn't live with this. He couldn't live with the thought of this being his baby girl, because in his mind, he believed wholeheartedly, he believed that this was Michelle's daughter. He knew without a doubt that this was Michelle's daughter. So he kept on pushing, and he kept on doing his research, and he kept on pushing until he got them to confess what they did, and it was a wrap from there. He went straight and did what he was supposed to do. He told the cops, he told everything, and that's how they identified Precious Doe to be Erica Michelle Marie Green. In my opinion, I just want to know, where was Harold's daughter when all of this was happening? Did he really have his daughter? Or did they only have Michelle? Erica only had Michelle's daughter. Like, where was his daughter at while all this was happening? And then, like I said, did they attend that funeral? Like, were they in the back, just back there? I'm just thinking that, like, did they go? Now, could you believe the year after they murdered baby girl, that they got married? She married this man a year later. So they were living their life. They were just going on about life like nothing happened. Like nothing ever happened. And everybody is just searching for this baby girl. And looking and asking and saying, where? And they just was going on about their life. Now, after doing time, he wants to come back and say, remember, he had a whole confession and told everything he did. He said he was on drugs. He didn't mean to hurt the little. He didn't mean to do that. He's sorry. Blah, blah, blah. So now he comes back to try to get a new trial. That judge ain't even consider it. He threw that thing out. He said that he was crying. He was denying that he denied that he would never touch Erica. He would never harm a baby's hair on that baby's head. He would never do those things. He also said that y'all don't know me. Y'all just know what they made me say. I was coerced. I was pressured. They made me take that statement. I need a fair trial. That judge says, no. You are a non-feeling person. You are a non-feeling sociopath without taking responsibility for what he did. Like, I just think that, in my opinion, I think Michelle should also do life, not 25 years. Not 25 years. That's not fair. I don't think that's fair. So 25 years would be how old she is. She should be about 25 or 26, right? Because in like 2017, on May 15th, they did a birthday party at her gravesite, and the activists gathered together and they gave her a birthday party at her gravesite, and she was 20. So I'm like, I don't think that she should get that. So now let's talk about the bio dad. Now, in 2010, Erica's bio dad, Larry Green, filed a lawsuit against the Oklahoma Department of Corrections. According to the lawsuit, they should have monitored Erica after she was born and had better procedures in place to determine who would get custody of her. It also said the Department of Corrections should contact the Oklahoma Department of Human Services when an inmate gives birth, so the child could be better cared for. The lawsuit was settled in 2013. The DHS, DOC, and the University of Oklahoma cared for University of Oklahoma Medical Center, where Erica was born, agreed to adopt new procedures to ensure the babies born to mothers in prisons will be refined to DHS to plan for the safe placement of the newborn before the baby leaves the hospital. An undisclosed amount of monetary compensation was paid to Larry Green, and the DHS said that they would collectively refer to the new policies as Erica's rule. So I guess they put policies in and they named it Erica's rule. So they're gonna, when people give birth, they're gonna do better at getting these babies placed in homes where they're safe and where no harm will come to them. I don't know, how do y'all feel? Get into the comments and let me know what y'all think about this story. What do you think? Do you think that Michelle got enough time? Do you think that they were at the funeral? Do you think that Harrell even had his daughter? Like, I just don't know, because they never speak about the daughter ever. They don't speak about the daughter, and I know Miss Brown is like so hurt. You take a baby, like, I know she didn't have her, but she had her hours after birth. So it's the same thing. Like, if you love, you love. So it don't matter if you had them or not. If you take somebody in and you love them, and you love them unconditionally, and you giving them the best life you can possibly give, and it is snatched away from you within a day, and now your whole life has to change. She's been doing this since she was born till 3 years old, and now her whole life has to change. She had a routine. She got up, she fed baby girl, she did baby girl's hair, she dressed baby girl, they watched TV together, they went to church together. They had routines in play that they were doing, that they interrupted for their own gain, for their own selfish reasons that we will never know, because they will never tell the real story, or what really happened, or why they did it, or what they did. They just want to plant that thing, oh, we was high. Take responsibility for what you did. Because she said, when she said, what the blank did you do? He woke up out of his high. Like, that just wakes you up out of a high? I don't know. But get in the comments. Tell me any other stories you want me to do. Like, I have a couple more stories that'll be loading up today also. So let's just be respectful for baby girl. And I just pray that she is resting with the Lord and He has His loving arms around her and still giving her love. Because the last hours or the last days between what Michelle and what Harrell says was horrible. We don't know if the baby girl was in pain. We just don't know what she was going through. So, with that being said, please like and comment. Please subscribe. If you're not a What Wanted 325 Nation, if you're not in a 325 Nation, please join it. We are love over here. We are 100% love. So, don't forget to be respectful in the comments, because we never know who is watching, who sees, or who are reading these comments. Please be mindful. And this is a baby girl. So with all that said, have a blessed day. Love on your loved ones. Hug them. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Stay protected. And continue to praise the Lord. And I'll be back with another video very soon. See ya.